and gentlemen, welcome back. This is Midnight Therapy. I am your host, the one and only Kat Matthews. We are back in the saddle again. It is morning here. I'm having a different type of beverage. I am having some homemade iced coffee in my Christmas SpongeBob mug. The coffee is from Aldi. It is black coffee, which I think is the only way to drink coffee. A couple cubes in there, and I am caffeinated up. I'm a little amped up for this episode, so it's gonna be fun. I think. Coming at you on Tuesday here. We had a good weekend. I hosted karaoke at a place I hadn't hosted in a while at the Bar and Company. I wasn't really hosting there for a while, but we're back and it was fun. Karaoke is interesting. It's my one of my favorite things to do is host karaoke. You meet a lot of interesting people. Some would even say, weird people come out for karaoke and they really feel comfortable enough to, show everybody what they've been practicing in the shower for many months, if not years, and you finally get enough courage to sing that, I don't know, Taylor Swift or Eminem song that you've been dying to, and you finally have an audience and a stage. I give that to people, and it's a great feeling to give them that platform. Even if they do it like many songs and people aren't really loving it, I still find it very rewarding. It's very fun. Fun times, great job. If you could be a karaoke host, I highly recommend. There's not much better than that. Substitute teaching is over. I had my last day Friday. That was a whirlwind of emotions because I don't think I'm going to return to teaching at the moment. I'm going to pursue other, I don't know, means of income. I guess we'll call it that. Get a real job, some would say. So that'll be interesting. I'll keep you posted on that. I got a couple options I'm thinking about doing. We had a discussion last podcast. If you had any suggestions to let me know, nobody really commented. But hey, like I said, we are doing this. I'm doing this for myself. Like I said, this is also therapy for me. But the comments will come. They'll come in time. So yeah, looking for a new job. I'm done with subbing. Had some karaoke fun. Today is going to be a more serious episode. Like I was saying, I think we're going to have to start getting into current events here, which would involve some politics. And a lot of you are probably like, uh-oh, here we go. Another one. But I'm telling you, if we cannot speak like adults about things going on, then what are we doing here? And you should not, I would say, like, oh, I hope you don't get offended, but maybe do get offended and really think why you're offended, because it doesn't affect you. It has nothing to do with you. If your beliefs are challenged a little, that's what beliefs are for. Sometimes for a while I thought the greatest food in the world was chili and the chicken critter dinner from Texas Roadhouse, and until I tried, I don't know, boar bolognese at Frank's place, I would have never have changed that belief. I would have said, nope, the best food ever is the chicken critter dinner from Texas Roadhouse with the cheese and onion on the top and honey mustard sauce for the tendies. So let your beliefs be challenged. Try the boar bolognese. You never know. You say, well, that's my favorite. You don't know. That's your favorite so far. That is your favorite so far. So maybe you are liberal or you're conservative. Thus far, who knows? Maybe it'll change. You didn't sign up. It's not a membership thing that's forever. You can always change. And I don't think you should have any view. So without further ado, we're just going to jump right in. We're going to be talking about America, the land that I love. Very fitting. I swapped out last week's painting with the Uncle Sam man. That's what I called it for the 4th of July, which is coming up rather quickly. Teacher thing we do um, in the teaching world, I like to say I was in that, even though I was a sub, is right when the 4th hits, your summer's like over. And this was, you probably remember this when you were on summer break as a student. As soon as the 4th of July hits, it's like over. The summer's like over. So it's going fast. So I hope it doesn't come too soon, but it is a great holiday to celebrate a great country. Very patriotic. So I hope you enjoy looking at that as always. But let's talk America and more importantly, the state of this country going into an election year, which I truly think is probably the most important election ever. This one. And I feel that for a couple different reasons. But before I get into why I think it's very important, I think we need to set the stage, give you some context on what I think happened. Now, this would take obviously years to explain, or maybe decades. But I'm going to try to do it in a 30-minute podcast in the basement, wearing a cowboy outfit. So again, this is the abridged version of your context, but it's still context. So you're welcome. So I think America, obviously, this election year, the world is watching for a plethora of reasons. But I think they're watching because I think we are what they call a country in decline. Um, where did we go wrong? I don't know. There's a lot of things you could point at, but I think a big one would be this whole two-party system that we have totally split up into. As I touched on a little just a couple minutes ago. That's a big no-no. I'm going to tell you why. If you don't trust me, George Washington, I think on his deathbed, now don't quote me, but you can look it up, said something like, "Do not split into a two-party system, and do not let the federal government get too big." And whoops, we did both of those. Pretty, pretty, pretty rough. How bad we didn't listen to him. Feel bad for George. He was right though, in that regard. So yeah, we have this two-party system in which the country kind of acts like our political parties are sports teams, and you like when you grow up, you're like, well, you're a Cowboys fan, and that's that. And they go, but I might like the Giants. Like, whoa, no, you're you bleed Cowboys. Remember the Cowboys cheerleaders? You're a Cowboys fan, and you have to like root for them no matter what. And if they lose a lot or mess up a lot, you still have to like them because you already painted your walls in your man cave to be the Cowboys. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's kind of how we are with our political parties. Like, well, my grandfather was a Democrat and my father was a Democrat and I'm a Democrat. No matter what, blue, no matter who. They got the right wing, does the same thing. Those liberals, I'll never vote for a liberal. It does nothing for you except limit your options, and it stifles your critical thinking skills because you have this allegiance to this fake cult that they made up only to oppress you and to keep you in line. There is a man, let's pretend it's a man, and we'll call that the elite. Now, what is the elite? I said this 100 times. We're going to say the top investors of the country, the donors, the special interests, the lobbyists, the media, those people, the three-letter organizations, you know who I'm talking about. They are this man, let's pretend. And he has the puppets. He has a puppet on this hand, a puppet. And guess what? This is your left, and this is your right. This is your blue puppet, and this is your red puppet. And they're telling you completely different narratives, but it's the same dude controlling the puppets. Do you understand that? So when you go, not my fault, I voted for it doesn't, it's the illusion of choice. And if you know George Carlin and you know his rants, you know all about this. A big club and you ain't in it. But the illusion of choice keeps you getting up every day and going to work and buying things. And they need that. They need you to have some sense of that you contributed, that you're part of this system. That's a government by the people and for the people, even though it hasn't been in a very long time, because we allowed this monster, this ideology, to grow this big. It's a greedy system. It's a dirty system. Dog eat dog. People get in, they stay in, and they only get in if they have the right connections that their father made or even their grandfather made. A lot of favors, a lot of money, a lot of power on the line. So they don't just let anybody in. So you hear all the time, how come like a nice, logical, critical thinking, good, valued person is around? Because they're not even going to get into the parking lot of this arena. You don't even get in if you don't have billions or near billions and a ton of favors. You can't even get in the parking lot. Nevertheless, onto the debate stage, as you're seeing right now. They're not even going to let Kennedy on, probably, and they use the term Kennedy Democrat. That's Kennedy. That's actually a Kennedy, and they don't care because he's not playing ball. And we're going to get into what it means to play ball soon. And don't mind me if I drink this like an old woman uh, by the fireplace. It's just a lefty mug, and I don't really like. I want to show you the SpongeBob, but I'm not really a lefty, so I need this support hand. Anywho, anywho, getting back to the system. So that's why it's a little corrupt. I could go on to that, talk about that for hours. And I don't want to do that because we don't have time. You don't have time for that. Neither do I. But for example, like this goes on in everything. Like Disney owns Fox and ABC. Like they own everything. They are giving you two different, I don't know, viewpoints or ideologies or takes or stances or whatever, and they own both of them. Like this is so blatant. The Baby Bells, like all those phone companies, they're owned by like the same. It all goes back to these same umbrella companies that just own everything, and they're selling you the products that are supposedly against each other or rivals, but they're the same. And it's just that goes on in business, that goes on in the economy, and it goes on in politics. So just get ready and understand that. Um, so we have this failed two-party system, and now we're at 2024. Uh, you have two less than ideal candidates, they would say. Um, One is polarizing. Let's just say Trump. A lot of people have mixed opinions about him, and we'll do a little background on him soon. And then you have the Biden, who's, I'm just going to be, now don't get mad, but he's barely alive. Whether if that hurts your feelings, I'm sorry, but it should not. You never probably met the guy. You don't know him. He has nothing to do with your life. You are not on the Democrat team. Like, you know how, like in football, if the Patriots lose, you go, we lost. No, we didn't lose. They lost. You're just a fan that overpaid for beer. You're just a fan that overpaid for your seat and you sat outside and you got cold and you paid $18 a beer and you got a hot dog and, oh, we lost. You didn't do it. You didn't play. You just watched. That's the same with you. Like, hey, you're making fun of our team. You're making fun of Biden. Shut up. Shut up. We're going to get into Biden too, but those are your options. Ideal, not so much, but that's going to be your options. Maybe if both of them get there. So what do we do with that? As I said, everything is compromised. Everyone is compromised. The president is really, at this point, just a figurehead. They have a position on things. People relate to them, but I really think there are these, like I said, these dark ideologies in the background pulling most of the strings. Like, for example, if you think Biden is running this country, he is not. He has a great cabinet that's doing it, and there's people that give him everything. An intern, Biden's one intern from college is probably doing more than he is, whether you like that or not. Writing the speeches, running them through AI, making them sound perfect, making sure he doesn't say anything that offends anybody, or finding the words that are easy for him to say. There are medical students giving him the perfect dose of whatever Lazarus drug he's on to keep going at 83 years old. There's a lot going on in the background. And then foreign policy stuff, of course. He's not really making those decisions anymore. Biden was quite old when he was with Obama because that's what they needed. When Obama was running, they were like, all right, I don't know if the country is going to accept this. It was the first black president, of course. It was a big deal. So what did they do? They do what they always do. They go, let's appeal to the people that might not be ready for Obama. Let's get an old white, kind of racist guy, kind of conservative for a left wing guy. And they did. Like, if you don't know, look it up. Biden was friends with Robert Byrd, who was the Grand Wizard of the KKK. And like I said, this is just fact. Look it up. We're going to talk about everybody equally. We're going to talk about all the skeletons in the closet. So don't get mad, left people. This is just honest. So they used Biden then. He was kind of old then, and he was kind of useless. Obama had a quote, like, I don't know the quote exactly, but he was like, never underestimate Joe Biden's ability to mess something up. And he said that in like in 2008. So now we're in 2024. Like the guy, like if you are 65, I don't think you should be working anymore. Why would you want to? That's like when you retire, you get a boat, and you go golf, and you have fun. But this guy, like he is in extra innings, and it's not like he's going back to work part time at Dollar Tree. He's the leader of the free world. He controls the world. You know how crazy that is. If your father retired and he worked his whole life and he was 65 and then he said, I think I want to go get a job at the Dollar Tree. 15 years after he retired, I would say, Dad, what are you doing? You've been retired for 15 years. Now you want to go back to work at the Dollar Tree? I would think the Dollar Tree would be a little too stressful for him. I also think Joe Biden, no offense to him, and he did some things back in the day. He probably a decent politician for whatever that means back in the day. But I would be worried if Joe Biden was a cashier at the Dollar Tree. I would feel like he would mess up and get lost and he'd have to sit. You know what I'm saying? And stop, let go all your politics. Do you not agree with me? Do you not think that Joe Biden would have a hard time standing as a cashier at the Dollar Tree right now? I think he would have a very rough time. But we let him be the leader of the free world. And that's a problem. We could address that later. Maybe there should be term limits on age in the other, or not term age limits in the other direction. You have to be 35. Maybe it should be 35 to 70. I don't know. Let me know. Some people are different. But Joe Biden clearly not really leading the country. And I don't think the ideology behind him pulling the strings of the puppet really has the best interest for America. And I have a couple reasons why I think that. But then let's look at the other side. We're going to get into Donald Trump here. For the lefties that might have been mad. Like I said, I don't have any allegiance to these fake clubs. So it's very freeing to be able to talk like this within reason. So let's look at Donald Trump. Here's why he's appealing, because I don't have to get into why he's not appealing. If you don't like Trump, you have all your reasons. And a lot of them are the obvious ones, that he's a sleazy businessman and he lies and he doesn't have the experience to run the country and he messed up with COVID and January 6th and he stole the papers. I understand all those reasons. I'm not going to regurgitate them to you. I'm going to tell you the honest truth of why he resonates so well and so powerfully with half the country, if not more, at this point. Why he's still relevant. It's because to get into this fake system, like I said, this is a fake system from school board all the way up to the president of the United States. It is corrupt and fake, and there is a lot of tomfoolery or whatever, a lot of shenanigans going on. I don't have to get into them. You probably already know, but there is bribery and there is money laundering and there is backdoor deals everywhere you go. So if you want to be president, up until Trump, you had to. This is why he is a shift in the course that we were heading. You had to have had tons of backing by every special interest and lobbyist and big corporation and the elites that are retired and still working. You had to have all their support. And you also had to have a ton of money, like a ton of money, and old money too. And you had to be in politics before, like you had to either be a son of somebody or nephew or son-in-law. And usually people that are in politics are in it for life because if they ever get out, they don't have protection from all the wrongdoings they've done, you know? So, in a nutshell, you had to be an insider and you had to be a politician. You probably had to be a career politician and you had to do it a long time. There wasn't too many young presidents other than Kennedy and some of the very older ones, the early presidents. But most of them, they serve their whole life and then they get the opportunity to be president. That's kind of how you had to do it. But Trump was truly the first dude ever to step into that world with no political experience and his own money. So with that came no restrictions on what he said or how he said it. Usually, so say you're running, someone's running, and they have some controversial views or some views that aren't politically correct. One of the donors out of the many are going to say, "We don't like that. That really hurts our company. That really hurts our business. We don't want you saying that." And then you don't say it because they're funding your entire chance at becoming president. You're not going to go against them. You're not going to go against whatever sponsor or donor you have, because without them, there's no money. Without the money, there's no stage time. There's no debate. There's nothing. So there's no chance. So you go along what they say. That's why every politician before Trump was squeaky clean, said the right things. They were like Obama. Obama spoke perfectly. He didn't offend anybody. He focused on saying things without really saying anything, like the vague stuff. He never cut to the chase because you can't cut to the chase because it might offend people and then you might lose funding. But Trump was not worried about any of that, which is crazy because usually the people that will speak freely like that don't have the money to run for president and they don't have the desire. Trump is the weirdest scenario of all time, whether you know it or not. This guy had everything. He had mansions, he ran Miss Universe. He had a reality show. He had golf courses. He was living the ultimate life, and he gave it up to enter the world of filth that is politics at the highest level. I don't know why he did it. Maybe some would say because he has to. He's addicted to being in the spotlight. Whatever. I get the first time. Why on earth is he doing it again? He could have retired and done comedy. He could have did tours around the country, did rallies and had fun and did golf speeches and showed up to weddings and he could have had an easy life. Could have wrote books. Could have had someone else write a book. But he's back in the arena. I don't get it. It makes you think maybe he does realize things we don't. And maybe he does realize that there will never be another person in his shoes again that has the money for now and wants to run without being compromised by donors or people in the background. So with all your bad feelings about Trump that are justified in some regards, he's not the best moral person. I get that. And then no one ever said he was. He is the only one in that situation that is truly running on his own money with his own um his own creed, if you will. So there's something to be said about that. And I don't think a lot of people look at that. I think people just look at him as like, oh, look at there's the orange man. He's bad and I don't like him and I'll never vote for him and he ruined the country and whatever people say. But the way I look at it is I don't really think the president has to be this perfectly moral person because I don't think any of them are and they never will be. If you will find corruption from the manager at a mattress firm. That guy that runs the northeast part of the country's mattress firms, he's probably doing weird things with an employer, paying an employer a hooker or something. You understand that? Everywhere, your local Dollar General has corruption like that. To think that these people in big business and politics aren't doing corrupting, of course they are. Like, oh, Trump was with a prostitute. Of course he was. Of course he was. You really think look at him? Look at him back in the day. That guy. You really think he didn't? Is that shocking? Stop. Stop. I didn't think it was a big deal when Bill Clinton did it as president. That's a controversial thing. I don't know. If it was two consenting adults, why do you care? I'm the president. You know, I don't know. But of course, Trump did that. And I love how we have this thing like, oh, the president has to be this great person and blah blah blah. I don't care about your morals or your stances on anything as long as you do the job. Like if my plumber, if I eat a burrito bowl or Taco Bell or something and I clog the toilet up horribly and the plumber comes, you think I'm going to say, wait, before you plumb and fix and get that chalupa out of the toilet, what's your stance on abortion? You think that's going to alter? Like, you think it's going to affect me paying him? No, I don't care. Just fix the toilet. I don't care. But we like to like you got to separate the art from the artist sometimes. Like Elvis, like am I going to like not listen to Elvis because, you know, I don't know, Priscilla was young, just so you know. She was young. It's not acceptable today, but I'm still going to probably still going to listen to Elvis. Gets a little weird with like the R. Kelly and the Michael Jackson though. Like do you still listen to them? It comes up in my head. I can't help but think about it, but I still listen. You know, this is a spectrum how this works. But to get back to the point, I don't know if I care that Trump paid a prostitute years ago. I don't know if that affects, it doesn't really affect much to me. I'm like, okay, what else? You know, it's more of like who can lead the country better and when was the country doing better. And I think it was doing a little better under Trump until the COVID thing. And that's a whole nother can of worms I'm not going to open. But um, these are your options. I kind of laid out the Biden. I kind of laid out the Trump. Now Biden has thousands of people behind him calling every shot, as I said, which is different than Trump. So keep that in mind. Um, Biden really didn't promise. He didn't fulfill his promises, as you know. If you're like me, who has college debt, that was a big lie. There's no debt relief. But what did happen was we completely opened the border. And everybody, remember, people thought the border wasn't a problem and Trump was just nuts for building the wall. Now it's completely open. Well, it's been open for 2 years. We have no idea who's here. Some people are probably just people fleeing, but a lot are cartel people, members of the cartel, and not even people from Mexico, which is interesting. A lot of military age Asian people or Chinese people are crossing the border, people from other countries, um, from different continents are entering. So that's interesting. We could get into that in another episode too. And then perpetual war is going on a lot under the Biden administration, which everyone said was going to happen under Trump. So I say we gotta really think about these things. We gotta let go of our beliefs and let go of our tribalism. It's like, well, but I'm a Democrat. I can't entertain these thoughts. You should. You should. The Democrats I know, the older ones, I can't really speak for the younger ones because I don't know what they're doing. They're doing other things. But the older Democrats were like, oh, I'm like a hippie. I'm anti-war. I'm anti-big pharma, anti-big government. Just leave me alone. That's a Republican now. That completely switched. Now the left loves big pharma, as you saw with the whole Pfizer, Moderna, J&J debacle of the vaccine rollout. They love them. They love perpetual war. Remember Bush? Like, oh, Bush is sending us to war. It's terrible. Look what we're doing now. We're now in the Ukraine. We're in Taiwan. We are sending money to Israel and the Palestine. Like we are everywhere. If there's a war, we're there. We're sending money. We're sending bombs. We want it to happen. Well, the left wants it to happen. It appears the only guy that said he would stop the wars is Trump. Oddly enough. Oddly enough. Very weird how that's going on. But Biden loves connecting these things. Like we have to. Well, now we have to open the border, and then we have to close it, and the Republicans won't close it. And it's all this pageantry. It's all nonsense. But he didn't really do what he said he was going to do, and the economy is far worse no matter what they tell you. Wall Street's doing well. The big companies are doing well, and they like using those stats and those numbers. But I will tell you, go to the store, everything's uh, a lot more. So the economy's not doing well for the middle class and lower class. We are in on the brink of World War III, whether you like it or not. Civil relations have never been worse. I feel like people are more polarized than ever now. Some will blame Trump for that. I don't know. I don't really know who to blame. Like a chicken and the egg thing, I guess. But things are not looking good under the Biden administration. This is probably one of the worst administrations of all time. Uh, and that, I'm not saying that to be controversial. I'm saying if you just look at the track record of what happened in these 4 years, not good. Wars should not break out in 2024 like this. Borders should not be open like that. And I think it's very simple. It has nothing to do with being racist or anything like that. It's just if you have Disneyland and you let anyone in without a ticket, you're going to ruin it for the people that paid. You're going to ruin it because then everyone's just going to run in. Imagine if it was a concert and you just said, all right, come in. But everybody had tickets and they're paying for the tickets or the taxes. You get what I'm saying? And then everyone's just running in. It wouldn't be fun. It wouldn't be good. It wouldn't be good for any institution or system. But I guess America doesn't know that lesson. They pretend they don't know that lesson, but they do. Makes you wonder why. And we can get into why. But I'm telling you that nothing happens on accident. Nothing happens on accident. So I'm going to be honest. I don't like the idea of complete open borders. I don't like the idea of fighting world wars again and again and again. I don't like the idea of the economy being a mess. And I also don't like the idea of a political administration weaponizing the DOJ against a political candidate. And that's exactly what's going on. And I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but there were so many examples throughout history in US history, recent history, of where a current president could have went against a political opposition or previous administration and they didn't. Obama did not go after Bush with all the 9/11 stuff. Look it up. And Trump did not go after Hillary. Even though he said he was going to, he never did. There's something to be said about like keeping the peace, um, and not turning this first world country into a third world banana republic where we knock off political opponents. Not to say the US hasn't done that in the past, physically or metaphorically, but this is getting a little bit much with this Trump trial stuff. Putting him maybe in jail next month is going to be crazy for civil relations here. I really don't know what to say, but it doesn't look good. I think it would be a lot more honorable and more American if we just let those two go at it in a debate and had an honest and fair election and let the better man win. And then maybe it'll cycle itself out next time and you'll get a better two candidates. Who knows? But to tie one's hand behind its back and say, all right, go. It doesn't look good, especially after the last election. I think people lost all faith in a lot of these systems last time with COVID and all the wishy-washy stuff that happened there. A lot of things changed, like the definition of a vaccine and the passports and all that, and the mail-in voting. And I think a lot of people are just unsettled. I don't think they believe in the election system anymore. They definitely don't believe in the system as a whole. Like the media, mainstream media, if you went back to 2016 to now, nobody is watching. If you look at the numbers, mainstream media is way down. All the big figures are out. Tucker, Cuomo, like all those guys are out. And people are doing more independent media, like they're watching podcasts, like shows like this. Because again, it's the you're very compromised in those institutions. Those institutions have donors and they deal with certain political parties, mostly the left, and they run certain things and don't run other things. You know, they have a narrative. Just get that out of the way. They have a bias. They are biased. They are pushing a narrative on you. They don't want you to think for yourself. They want you to listen to what they think and what they're told to think. And that goes from the major national media all the way down to your local. So I think the public is more informed than ever before, not indoctrinated or told, but they're thinking on their own for the first time. That brain is firing up. for the first time in a long time because they had previously trusted these institutions and they don't anymore. And Trump is a big part of that. Trump saying fake news and all that shit happening to him really did open a lot of eyes, for better or for worse. You don't want to go too far with that. You become a conspiracy. Now, you don't need to go join QAnon, but maybe don't trust everything that The View tells you or Jimmy Fallon. You know what I'm saying? Because there might be a little bit of a spin on that, and they might know their audience. Keep that in mind. Fox was doing it too. Fox Fox was the other hand. They played the right, and they got the conservative older men, and they put the blondes in the mini dresses to talk to them, and they knew what they were doing. Tucker's out now too. Tucker was the face of Fox. Now he's out. CNN, they had more of a left spin, and all the other ones were left too, and they knew their audience as well. But now that's all over. That is over. Podcasts have fully taken over, and independent media, which is good. I think. I really do think it's good. I don't think we can go on anymore being tribal like this. I think you need to talk to people that have different opinions and find some common ground. I think we agree on 90% of things. I think people really agree on 90% of things. And I think that 10% we just put on a pedestal and we go crazy. But back in the day, it didn't matter. Like you could have a different sports team. I'm still going to have a beer with you. You could have different views on something. We could still have a beer together. This polarization needs to end. Your neighbor's not your enemy. You know, have fun, make a couple jokes about it, but do not let this turn into like a civil war because that's what they want. That's what they want, and don't let them win. If you keep us divided, it's divide and conquer. Bread and circuses, all this crap that comes out is to keep you distracted. You know, oh, the Trump trial and the Biden this and Biden pooped his pants in France, like all that stuff. Funny as it is and clickbaity as it is, it's all bullshit. They just want you to forget that they own this system and they will do anything to stay in power and make money till the end of time. And they need you to keep believing that this system is fair and just, and you need to keep participating in it, so that they can say, "We're not doing it. You guys voted. You guys did it." It's a fake game. It's rigged. But let's think with our heads here. Is Trump the best moral man in the world? Probably not. But he probably is a little more sharp than Biden. And I think the country was in a better place when he was president, until the COVID, of course, which is not, he couldn't do anything really about that, obviously. So when you are thinking about what's going on, all your negative thoughts about Trump, which like I said, I don't have to tell you, I know you already have them. Keep in mind that Biden is pretty compromised cognitively, and he probably doesn't have the best interest. And even if he did, he's not really the one in charge. And during his administration, war has begun, and we are very close to being in a world war. The border is open, and the economy is terrible. Keep that in mind. The other guy, not the best moral guy, wanted a wall. He wanted no war, and there was no war. He was meeting these foreign leaders, shaking their hands, trying to act like a businessman, and it kind of worked. Kind of worked. Keep that in mind. As you see Trump possibly go to jail next month, if we think that that's the best thing for the country, is that going to unify the nation? I don't know. I don't think that's their goal. I think the goal is to literally create a civil war. But I think people are a little just too smart for that now. I think it would have worked. I don't think it's going to work anymore. So with that being said, we're going to keep talking about this stuff. I hope no one's too offended, but if you are, I'm sorry because I didn't say anything that attacked you personally. Keep that in mind. Good rule for life: don't take anything too personally. It's funny though, like the news. Like if you do watch the news, you turn it on, they like run out of stories. So it's like Gaza, look at this. Oh, look at this. Someone's dead. And then they like every once in a while they pull out like the killer bug thing, like every summer. Did you notice that? There was like the murder hornets. Remember that? The murder hornets. And there was the cicadas. But now there's like, I don't know if you have this, but we on our local news, we have like the poison flying spiders. So it'll go from like it's always doom and gloom. There's never anything. They might be like, oh, there was a car wash for this. That's like a good story. And it's like now back to the war in Gaza. And they show like people dead and military, and then they'll be like, oh, the killer bugs are back. Like it's all dystopian nonsense, but the killer bugs are a little funny. They come back every year. There's like a new killer bug that I never see. Never saw them, but I hear about them. You'll hear about them forever. But keep your eye out how they do that. They like throw in like a killer bug story on a slow news day. Yeah. But anyways, like I said, we're gonna get into the politics a little more in the current events. So I had to give you a little background and my thoughts on it. We will see what happens with this Trump trial. It's not looking good. Um, that's gonna change everything, whether he goes to jail or not. I don't know. I think it might help him, to be honest. We saw the last thing set record donations. So I don't know. I don't think people are too worried. I think people are seeing through it. Like I said, I think people are seeing through it now. But it took a while. Like from 2016 to now, it took a long time to see all this. And a lot of things happened to open the eyes of the people. But I think they're open now. And like I said, you don't have to be a MAGA person that's decked out in Trump gear. You don't have to be a fanatic. Just think with your head here, Trump or Biden, and really think about all the options. Um, and think about why they don't want him running. You think it's because of his moral character? Be honest. Do you really think they are go, Trump's too bad of a man to run? Really think that's it? They don't want a guy saying anything he feels with no control over him. They don't want that. And that's always what it's been. Now, is this guy the most inopportune person to do this? Yes, because Trump is like this character. He's like a mascot. He breathes controversy. He's the most polarizing figure. That's why it sucks, because it's Donald Trump and people already have their preconceived notions about the guy. But if anyone else were to do this, you would call them a hero. It's just because of his background and who he is and some of the stupid stuff he said over the years. They are running with the sound bites, doing everything they could. They tried everything, by the way. And keep this in mind. You like it when it's done to someone you don't like. So like the weaponizing of the DOJ and all this. The left is like, yeah, good job. But imagine if it was reversed. This is why you don't want to set that bar. You don't want to become a banana republic, because then what if the opposition gets in? What if the right gets in and starts doing that to the left? Then you're going to cry and it's going to suck and it might get worse. That's why you need to have a fair playing field with common laws and rules. So now that the bar is set that we can weaponize the DOJ against a political candidate, you better hope that somebody doesn't come in from the right and do that to the left, because then it's just going to become a pissing match. And that's kind of what it has become, which is sad. But just imagine this guy. What is it that they will do anything it takes to keep him out of that office? Think about it. He was a Russian agent. Remember that? He was a Russian agent. He was working with Putin. There was collusion. Remember the collusion, fake election? They didn't accept the results of the election either. Hillary really won, blah, blah, blah. Then it was all the other stuff. Like, think about every little thing, the Mueller report and all this. And then it was the COVID, and he mishandled COVID. And then there was the January 6th, and there was this. And they raided his house, Mar-a-Lago, and he has papers in there he shouldn't have. It's endless. That actually brought him back from the dead. I think he would have fizzled out if they didn't raid his house, because he was kind of like irrelevant at that point. Biden was in, it was over, it was 4 years away. We don't need to talk about this guy anymore. And then they raid his house. It seemed very Nazi Germany-ish. Like, let's raid his house. Put it on the news. And now it's like also like, let's have a trial and put him in jail with no Secret Service protection. It is getting crazy, everybody, and it's only going to get crazier. This is the last season of the show America, possibly, unless there's a reboot. I don't know. We got to see what they're doing, but it gets crazier every day. I hope it's just a series finale or a season finale, not a series finale, because I do love this country, and I think we all need to love this country. I think we were all a little blinded back in the day by the red, white, and blue and freedom and hot dogs and fireworks and eagles. And we thought the U.S. could do no wrong, but they do a lot of wrong, and it's okay to say it. We're a very corrupt country. We might be the most corrupt. We might be the most corrupt, but deep down, the people and the ideology of America is still a beautiful thing. It's the best system we created thus far. Is it corrupt? Yes. Is every system corrupt? Yes. Get it through your head, but it's still the best. Land of freedom, land of opportunity. You come here, you become American. That this only happens here. Like I said in another episode, you don't go to Spain, you don't become Spanish. If you're from Spain, you come here, you're American. It's an ideology, it's a belief, it's a creed, and we're all welcome in it. And we fix it as it goes. Was it always right? No. A lot of mistakes in the past, but we fix it as it goes. It's a malleable document, the Constitution. It's the best one thus far. So let's try to keep it going. This experiment, it's not even 300 years old yet. I don't want it to fall like Rome. Rome lasted like 1,000 years, so we can't fall yet. But just as Rome fell, America could fall also, and there's a lot of similar situations going on. If you look at the fall of Rome and you look at us, a lot of similarities going on. They had the people distracted with the Roman Colosseum and all this other stuff, and they kept them drunk, and they gave them bread and circuses while they did military conquests all over the world. And they expanded too far. They bit off more than they could chew, and that's exactly what we're doing right now. We can't even take care of our own people, but we're involved in all these foreign wars. It's insane. They also called it barbarians at the gates, and the Romans said it was people that were coming in that weren't assimilating to the Roman culture and paying into the system. Got a lot of that going on here too. And also a lot of moral confusion was going on in Rome at the end. Same here. A lot of that going on. We don't have to get into that, but we could. But where do I begin with that? So let's prolong the fall of the American empire as long as we could. Let's think logically with our heads. We are the smartest people to live. We have the most tools, the most resources, the most to look back on, the most experience. We can look back at all the others, read history. Let's not be tricked so easily by these systems, and let's really think logically, not only with emotion and not only with tribalism. I think we are way better than they paint us to be. We are smart and we are accepting and we are loving people. We're not dumb, clueless deplorables. Um, and we know what tricks they're doing. And we're not going to let them trick us this time. Let's really think with our heads on this one. I will be keeping an eye on the news, and I'll be coming back next week with some more stuff. I'm going to be watching the trial, or the sentencing rather, and I would hope to see a debate very soon. After the debate, I'll have a better opinion, but that's my little recap for you there. Stay curious, my friends, and until next week, good night.